Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's May 25th, 2024, and first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge that it's Memorial Day weekend, and yes, it's a great holiday and a long weekend, but please don't lose sight of the fact of why we have Memorial Day and the sacrifices that, go back, hundreds of years. And Sports with Mono and Mono is a big proponent of making sure we acknowledge our servicemen and women that gave the ultimate sacrifice and those that are active today. So if you see somebody, a serviceman, shake his hand and say thank you.
Absolutely. I have all the
we hope you can do
the
that.
Memorial Day banners behind me. I'm ready, and it's a special honor to say thank you. The Fleet Week in New York City, another special time where you want to just say thank you and appreciate everything that happens in our country, and we feel very special and grateful to see everything happen.
You bet. Okay, Eli. So we start off, of course, with our monologue every week, and our monologue is sponsored this week by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York, and again, loyal supporter of the show since day one. So Eli, there was some, I guess, kind of breaking news yesterday regarding the NCAA and the settlement that they came up with. I don't know where this money is coming from. I don't think we know we don't know all of the details and so forth. And I just wanted to point this out because I was always been a proponent of the name, image, and likeness, right? The nil. Because I always thought that these guys that were being used in video games and whatnot weren't getting compensated. But this is a whole new landscape. This is actually now going to be paying every NCAA athlete on top of the scholarships that they get and so forth. So, it was a $2.8 billion B with a billion, right? Of course, people that are going to get. So this is going to change, and this could change a lot of things. I don't know how it's going to work out, how it's going to be allocated, but it is something that when you look at it, the overall sports of each guy, each athlete, they're going to be compensated for playing on top of getting a full scholarship. In some cases, some Division III don't, but I'm anxious to see how this all pans out. I'm anxious to see how it works out and how it's going to be allocated. It's still early in the stages, but what are your thoughts on this kind of revolutionary thing for the NCAA?
I have a lot to say. I mean, listen, it's where you're getting this money from. That's my first thought on it, because where are you getting this money from? The second thought I have is it the right decision? Because listen, I get everybody wants money, everyone deserves money. Everybody who doesn't want money to begin with, that's number one. But the issue is you're only in college. To be paid that type of money for, you may not even qualify for like a playoff run, championship run. Heck, you may not even get one win in the season, but yeah, you're still getting paid for it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a full supporter of it, but I understand, people need money. I get it. It's just, if that's the case, everybody's going to start playing now to just get the money. It's just that.
Yeah, simple. I don't. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to work out yet.
Like compared to like regular college students that are just learning till they get their degree, they're not getting paid. But yet somehow these guys, they're playing sports. Oh, wait, hold on. You get the money. I mean, I don't know. They're only in college. That's how I feel about it.
Right. And does that mean it's correlated between, right? We all know college football is the money generating avenue for all collegiate schools, right? If you're a scholarship player at Alabama or Nebraska or wherever it is, a college education, and you're going to find out soon enough how much that really is. So, they get treated very well. They get better accommodations than the average student. So I'm not dismissing their right to get something. I just don't know
if
that
it's the right
you know,
move.
people take into account that they're getting a full scholarship, which could be worth up to $250,000. Now,
Plus,
I
they're
don't
getting all
know.
this.
Yeah, and I don't know if this ties into NIL and how it's going to impact that, but it is something that needs to be looked at closely. I can't wait till we find out more and more about what this actually means. And, does it go from D1 to D3 and encompass all collegiate athletes? I don't know, but it's an interesting thing. And, I would love for everybody out
To
there, and I know
chime in
we
your
have a lot of
thoughts.
loyal listeners, send us a comment. I'd love to hear some feedback, and send us a comment at sportswithmono@gmail.com, because this is a game changer for the NCAA,
Right.
and how it's going to impact the level of sports, and who goes to college, who doesn't. It remains to be seen.
Absolutely. There is no question. Feel free, of course, right here on YouTube, also on Facebook, Instagram, whatever you like to watch. And feel free to comment. We'll love to hear it.
Yep. Okay, Eli. So let's move on. We still got, like I said, we're in the midst of a lot of good sports things, but let's recap last week. The PGA, and Xander Schauffele wins his first major tournament, which,
Right.
I think I even said on this show, he's one of the best golfers, obviously, to never have won a major. But that's all put aside now, and he made it very tenuous on the 18th green. The ball kind of rolled around and barely went in,
Exactly.
but he did it. And again, when you look at the field that he was competing against, and we talked about the Scotty Scheffler thing from last week, so he wasn't a factor. Rory McIlroy was a favorite going in, and John Rahm, and I even said Koepka, but it was Schauffele down the stretch, and it really was, a major at Valhalla. It was great, and I'm very happy for Xander Schauffele.
I absolutely congratulations, Sam. I mean, it was a great matches, very close. A lot has happened with obviously Scotty Scheffler and everything that took on. So to finally crown a winner, and it was the right way to crown a winner. It was a good way to close out the PGA.
Yep, and listen, I'm not, excuse me, battling a cold here.
No
Not a
problem.
big Bryson DeChambeau fan. My feelings on live golf and so forth, but he's still a formidable player, and unless they don't let these live guys play in these major tournaments, but it looks like that's going to stay the course.
It's going to
Um,
factor in somehow.
yeah, but I'm kind of glad that it was DeChambeau that got beat, and Schauffele wins it, and Rory McIlroy has two chances this year again to win a master. I mean, to win a major, and we'll see how that plays out, because we still
No
got the
question.
U.S. Open and the British Open still to come.
Right. There's so much happening, and there's obviously we only time will tell, and
Yep.
we will see whether or not they're become the greatest in this sport.
Yep. So also, let's do a little recap too, right? We talked about the Kentucky Derby 3 weeks ago, and we had Mystic Dan win it, and then that always opens up the expectations and hopes that we could see a potential Triple Crown winner. And he didn't disappoint, but he didn't win the race, and it was won by Seize the Gray. So unfortunately, that diminishes, I guess, the
The
importance of
Triple
the Belmont
Crown.
Stakes, right? So,
Yeah.
which this year, by the way, is going to be held at Saratoga while
Saratoga,
the Belmont's under construction. But it
which is
was,
unfortunate, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was coming off, a 3-horse photo finish at the Kentucky Derby, and Seize the Gray actually took charge and
Right.
made a
It was
statement there.
it was a really good race, Jim, but it was not. We didn't see the excitement like we saw in the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
That's unfortunate to say, but unfortunately now you'll have no Triple Crown. So it means this kind of like lowers what we should expect for the Belmont Stakes, which is now Saratoga,
Yeah.
because now we have two winners for both the Preakness and also Kentucky Derby. So now it's like, who's going to win Saratoga? The only reason why this Saratoga event for Belmont will take place at high levels in terms of viewership, because it's not in Belmont, it's in Saratoga Springs, New York. So
And
that's
it's
going to
not a
play
mile and a half like the
right.
Belmont usually
So
is. So
that's going to factor in on who will
yeah,
become the winner. So that's the only reason why. But obviously, if we had Mystic Dan who won this race, the importance of Saratoga would have grown even more than what it's
yep,
supposed to be at.
yep. And like I said, the significance of Belmont was that it was always a mile and a half, and it's at Saratoga, so it's not going to be a mile and a half, but it's still a race worth watching. And one thing that I did notice, one of the longtime trainers, and I've been watching horse racing and Triple Crowns for oh my God, for the better
Forever,
part
I'm
of my
sure. Yeah.
entire life. When did D. Wayne Lucas turn 88 years old? I mean, he's been around for so long. I was shocked when they said he was
See,
88 years old, and this
with
guy's been on the
everybody
scene.
with everybody these days, you can never tell who is 88 years old or not. Anybody in their 80s, 70s, you're like, wow, how are you in your 70s, 80s? Like, you get shocked. I mean, there's so many people I could name right now, but I'm not going to, that do not look like they're that age. It's amazing.
Yep. Anyway, but congratulations to him because he's been a figure in thoroughbred racing for 50
Oh, yeah,
years, and it was really good to see a win for him there. So,
absolutely.
all right, Eli. So let's
Yeah,
move on to a couple things. Why don't we start off so I could let you go on a rant about how lucky the
correct.
Rangers got,
Yes,
and let's
correct.
talk about the playoffs. We're down to the final
Okay.
four. We're down to Edmonton and Dallas in the Western Conference, and we're down to the Rangers and the Panthers in the Eastern Conference. And listen, I'll be the first to tell you. I mean, I'm a Ranger fan, but I'm telling you right now,
They looked horrible.
not that they were lucky, but they had a scrap to get that win. But I will say this right now, in those first two games I saw, it looked like Florida was a better team, a more physical team, a faster team. So the
Oh, yeah.
Rangers, like I said, it's a 1-1 series situation right now. So that's we got 5 games to go. It's probably going to go 6, probably going to go 7. But the Rangers have to pick up their game.
Well,
Couple
I
of
think
things. Yeah, go ahead.
one big thing is with the Rangers. Last night win was a lucky one because they obviously went to overtime, which the Rangers have been known to do in this playoff run. But one factor you got to keep in mind: the power play was not at its best level for the Rangers, and I think that was one big factor that we have to look at coming for the rest of these games. The next two are obviously in Florida. You have tomorrow, which is an earlier start, 3 p.m. on ABC. So we will see how that factors out. But again, the power play for the Rangers needs to get better. It's
Yep.
just a slow struggle start, and they've been lucky, Jim. That's all I could say. They've been lucky to get the wins that they've gotten especially yesterday, and we'll see if they're going to get any more. Their power play needs to get better, and they need to get stronger out there. They were questionable about putting Rempe in the lineup. They put him in. Did he help out? Kind of. Was it the best
No.
decision? No, but
No, and I'm you know what, Eli, I'm actually glad that you brought that up because there was a lot of discussion about the physical type team that Florida is, and putting Matt Rempe in there was gonna
save the day.
change this. And to be quite honest with you, I was surprised that Peter Laviolette made that decision to put him in there last night because, outside of running around and crashing guys into the boards and so forth, he's not a very good hockey player. So you're taking one player off that roster for the game and putting this guy in for the physical presence. I think like guys like Trouba and Barclay Goodrow and these guys can handle themselves too. So I think you need to have a player and positions on a playoff hockey
There is no
roster.
question, Jim. But you got to keep in mind, though, when you look at hockey, you think about the fights in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Putting Rempe in could change the game for Florida because they're not going to be now. They got to realize, hold on, we're good at the hockey portion. How do we get better at the fighting portion? How are we able to create penalties to give to the New York Rangers? How do we not consist fighting and get suspensions or misconducts or anything like that? That's
Yeah,
something you got to keep in mind. I think by putting Rempe in last night, it was a smart decision because it's going to bring in the views for the fights. But it's not the greatest decision from a hockey perspective, as you mentioned.
I
Honestly,
agree.
heading to game 3 tomorrow, keep Rempe in because, again, national television, everybody's going to be watching the game because it's on ABC, it's on ESPN. More viewers, obviously, ABC than ESPN, of course. So, I mean, looking at this, put Rempe in, see what the fight he can do. And remember, there was a fight last night with obviously the first goal scored with the Rangers. Could this factor in tomorrow in Florida? New environment, new playing style. Keep Rempe in, see how it plays out. That's my opinion.
Well,
But before I
here's
get to
the
yours,
thing.
Jim, real quick, good morning from Eric, and happy Memorial Day weekend to you. That's the comment we have. Feel free to comment with any time about any comments or discussions that we have today. Thank you again. Good morning, Eric.
Yes, Eric. And Eric and I go way back, and I know he has a son in the military, and I know he recognizes the importance of Memorial Day. So thank
Absolutely.
you, Eric. We appreciate it. But just one other thing on the Rangers. The decision was whether it would be Rempe or Filipino, who's been out literally all season.
Right.
And you know what? I'm not seeing that he's that kind of a player that you got to get him in the lineup. So but last night they had them both in the lineup, and Hedel doesn't do a lot. He's coming off a concussion. Remke didn't do much, so I don't know who sat last night. It might have been Brzezinski or somebody. I don't know who sat, but anyway, so that's that series. I know how you feel. I know how you're rooting, but do not dismiss the New York Rangers.
I will dismiss the New York Rangers. Go Florida.
Okay. Well,
Let
then
the
I'm
rats
going to
fly.
want an apology on the show from Eli, from the Devils fan whose hatred of the Rangers is so intense.
Listen,
Sometimes
they
he
got
can't be
lucky last
impartial.
night. They rightfully lost the other day on Wednesday.
Yep.
So, like I said, it'll be a great series.
And now
Over to Dallas and Edmonton, though.
Yes.
I mean,
and Connor McDavid. I mean, listen, for the NHL, it would be great to see because he's probably the best player in the league, and he scores the overtime win, so they steal a win from Dallas in game 1. But that's going to be a great series too. That's probably going to go 7 games. Dallas is a really good team, and you know what? I think it's good for hockey because I know a lot of people know of Connor McDavid, but a lot of people haven't really seen him play, me included. Right? They're on the west coast of Canada, and games are always later and so forth. But from a showcase perspective, I think it would be great. I'm looking forward. I'm pulling for Edmonton because I want to see him play, and you always want to see the best player win a Stanley Cup. And right now, I think he is the best player in hockey.
No question, Jim. But here's where I'm going to put in, though. They won in double overtime, Edmonton. Edmonton does not look strong also against Dallas. Not saying Dallas is weak, not saying Edmonton's weak, but they're equally matched. Dallas could easily win the next couple of games. It all comes down to who wins it first, how many overtime games you have, how do you work on the power play, or what's the fights like. Those are the little things you got to look at. In my opinion, the Oilers are going to give a fight, but I would not be surprised Dallas comes on top in this series because Edmonton does not show that they can handle it, in my opinion. But we do have a comment from Tom. Jim, you're muted. You're muted, Jim. Jim, you're muted. You got to unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, listen.
We also have a comment from Tom real quick before I get to yours. Tom said you got to love the Oilers.
Yeah, and Tom, you're right. Like I said, Tom's, from California, now moved to Kansas City, but I know he's a hockey guy too. And I think we all want to see McDavid, but I am not dismissing the Dallas Stars for 1 second.
No.
That's going to be a great series. And like I said, I think I would love to see the Rangers Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals. That would be great.
I will not. I would appreciate the Oilers, Rangers, not so much. However, it's going to draw in tons of viewership. That's all I can say.
But by the way, yep, go ahead.
Other news in the NHL, the New Jersey Devils hires their new head coach, Sheldon Keefe, or as the memes have been going out there, Young Sheldon. He originally coached for the Maple Leafs along with many minor league teams. Good pickup for New Jersey. We'll see if he could rebuild around this team. Two other notes In the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes head coach Rod Brind'Amour has signed a multi-year extension to stay with the Hurricanes. I think it's a good pickup. I mean, look at the matchups.
Absolutely.
No question.
Absolutely.
Great.
He's got Stanley Cup roots too. And he won, as a matter of fact, he was the captain of the Hurricanes when Peter Lavalette won the Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes. So
One final
he's
note
not
before
going anywhere. He's not going
One
anywhere.
final note before we get to Eric's comment real quick. On June 17th, the NHL will be having a rescue dog competition featuring 16 pups representing each team that qualified for the playoffs. The event will be live on ESPN Plus and NHL Network in the US. That might be fun to watch if you're interested.
Oh, where do you find out this information but Sports with Mono and Mono? Good.
Exactly.
Good segue there.
You see, everything's on X. Look at X.
And I don't
phenomenal.
Yeah. And I don't know if we mentioned it, but like I said, the coaching carousel in the NHL, Keefe takes over. He got the Maple Leafs in the playoffs 5 straight years, so I think that's a good move for your Devils,
right?
Because he could win.
Absolutely.
And Craig Berube takes over the But
do you notice how? Do you notice how like 3 guys from TNT's broadcast end up getting careers in the hockey field again, whether it's coaching or managing? You had Keith Jones, you have Keith Maple Leafs again. It was a lot of switch around, and so it's pretty interesting. A comment from Eric real quick. Thank you again for the kind words, Jim and Eli. Thank you.
You got it, Eric. And again, thank you to Tom Pugh. He's a loyal listener now, and he's been a dear friend of mine, and we go way back, and I'm happy to hear he had some medical issues, but he's 100% good now. And he moved to Kansas City, I guess, because Taylor Swift is going to spend a lot more time in Kansas City. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you been to a concert? That's the question. Tom.
No, I have
not. No, Tom.
I haven't.
The question's for Tom.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Kansas City, Taylor Swift. I mean, you mentioned it. See, this time he mentioned it, guys. I want to clarify. He mentioned it about Taylor Swift. I did not. I want to clarify that today.
Absolutely guilty. No question.
Guilty as charged.
Yep.
Just want to clarify that for everybody to know.
So let's move on, right? And you know what? We're going to move on to the NBA, and I'm going to tell you this because this was actually something I was considering doing for the Mono-Logue. Like the regular season in the NBA is so uninteresting. It really, compared to these playoffs, and I've told you that I've watched more NBA in the past 3 weeks than I have in 10 years.
Absolutely. Before I get my thoughts on that, Tom replied back, no concert yet, maybe in Europe, which sounds exciting. Either way, back to the topic. There is no question that the NBA in the playoff run is a whole new ball game compared to the regular season. And here's the reason why, as you mentioned. In the regular season, it's just a free-for-all. You shoot, you score. In the beginning, in the opening 3 months, it counts. The points count, obviously, if you win or not. The wins doesn't matter. But not really. Like, you could sit there and watch a game like, And when you think of the first 3 months, what do you think of? NFL football, college football. So that decreased the NBA viewership. You rather watch.
The in-season tournament did nothing to add to the
It did nothing. It just caused trouble. That's all. Look at the Lakers, just the newest curse in the NBA. Now that the Lakers were the first ones to hit the road, Jack, in the playoffs.
Yep.
So that's like the newest curse in the NBA. Comment again from Tom. The Mavs were stunning last night, going home to Dallas.
Yeah, and so let's talk about each. We're down to the Final Four in the NBA. And as Tom pointed out, it's Dallas and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who will be a formidable team in the future. And I've always said, Doncic is an unbelievable shooter. They're really good, and it pains me to say that Kyrie Irving is actually playing, substantial quality basketball that we haven't seen him play in a couple of years. And a lot of that has to do with his bonding with Luka Doncic, and they have a really explosive team. And the game last night came down Doncic hits a 3-pointer
Right.
over Rudy Gobert with 3 seconds left, and that's a real good series. And I'm kind of interested in it now. And a couple of years ago, I said I really it doesn't interest me, but
Right.
this year seems a little bit different. And now we have Anthony Edwards in Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns and stuff. And they haven't lost by much. They could have
Right.
easily won both of those games. So that's a great series, and that's worth watching as well.
No question. I mean, last night it came down to 1 point the final. 108 to 109 was the final. 109, 108
Yeah,
was the final. 2-0 in the series. They head to Dallas. Could this game change? What do we see a sweep? What do we see in this game? It's a phenomenal series to watch. And not just to mention
absolutely.
also
Yep.
the Celtics, look at that series. 2-0, heading to the
Yep.
Pacers. Could the environment change? I like to see it. It's gonna be great.
Well, let's talk about that. So all year long, I think we've all been kind of on the same page that Boston had,
The best.
maybe one of the best teams in the league, and we fully
Correct.
expected them to get where they are now in the conference finals, and they look really good, and they look, Indiana played, give them credit, they played great against the Knicks and knocked them off, but they seem a little bit outmatched against the Celtics here. So I don't think this, it may go 5 games. I don't see it going much more than that. And now Halliburton's going to miss game 3, which is that's a devastating loss for them.
Oh
So,
yeah.
unless there's some dramatic change and, down the road, if the Celtics do get to the NBA finals, and, I've never been a Kristaps Porzingis admirer, but he fits in well with that team. So that's going to, if the earlier they win that series, the more chance he has to play in the finals against whoever wins that series.
No question. It's gonna be down to the wire. It's going to be
Yeah,
it's gonna be close matches. I love to see Boston though. I really do. That's all I could say. I really want to see Boston in the championship. I think that's gonna be like a marquee
well,
one which one to
you
watch.
gotta really be, and you got to be really impressed. I mean, a lot of people are on the fence about whether Jason Tatum is that,
The guy, yeah.
premier guy. And to me, I believe that he is. And I think he has the supporting cast now. And let's not dismiss Jaylen Brown, who is really,
No
hit a real
question.
clutch shot the other night. And, they got a lot going for them. So I think that series is probably going to go as advertised. I'm not willing to crown Dallas yet because we saw Minnesota, they could win on the road. They won 2 in Denver to get to where they are now. And Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, these guys are players. So
No question.
believe it or not, like I said, it's actually enjoyable for me, and I'm watching it. I'm
Oh
watching it.
yeah, it's getting pretty exciting. And like I said, well, you cannot compare the regular season to the playoffs. They're two different styles of basketball. The playoffs are more
Yep.
exciting to watch because there's a reason to watch. The regular season, you're gonna just flip the channel right to football, and that's always going to be the excuse. And now the permanent excuse for one Christmas Day in particular, because now Netflix obviously has the games, which we talked about last week.
Yep. We did. We did.
Two
Yep.
other notes for the NBA, real
All right.
quick.
So
The
listen.
key
Yep.
Two other notes: Cleveland Cavaliers dismissed head coach JB Burkstaff this week, which was a big one there in
Bickerstaff.
Cleveland.
Yep.
Bickerstaff, there you go.
Yep.
The last one is this is still a rumor, but not officially confirmed. However, it's more than likely moving forward on this. Instead, the NBA and TNT will be moving on from the NBA as NBC Sports is nearing a potential deal with the NBA. And in my opinion, I think this is going to change the NBA big time. I don't think we're going to see the same viewership, the same content in the pregame and the postgame shows as we do with TNT. So just expect it to not be the same if the deal goes
Yeah.
through again. Not confirmed yet officially, but it's very highly now as more rumors are coming in.
Yeah. And and you keep us posted very well and informed about, what league is selling to what station and what networks, and it's just
Yeah.
it's such a multi-billion-dollar business
It's
that
always absolutely. It's all down to the money.
it is. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
and you're right. I thought that was a little unfair, but the NBA, they don't have a long tolerance for, but you can't blame Bickerstaff for um, Donovan Mitchell missing 2 games, 2 important games, and so forth. But the coaching situation, whether it's hockey, baseball, managers, whatever, um, you have to win, and you have to win now. And if you're not winning, you're out. And I
Yeah,
remember, I'm sure his father was Bernie Bickerstaff,
right.
who coached for many years in the league. So he'll find a job. I thought he did a pretty good job with Cleveland, and I don't know who they're going to replace him with. We'll find out soon enough.
Comment again from Tom. Will we be paying to stream games on Peacock? The deal is not announced. However, more than likely that's a yes, because if you remember, NBC lost NBC Sports Network. They got rid of the channel just before right after COVID.
Right?
They got rid of NBC Sports Network. So now the only channels you can broadcast the games are on NBC or USA Network and CNBC if you so desire. But
Yeah.
more than likely, we're going to see Peacock games. Already, college basketball games are on Peacock exclusively. So we're just going to be seeing probably in this new deal a lot more Peacock games. But I would not be surprised we do get a couple national games, which I would hope for.
And Tom, we Eli and I have talked about this extensively. The migration toward pay-per-view. At some point we're going to be forced to pay to watch the Super Bowl. We're going to be forced to watch the NHL finals. That's just the way it's going, and I'm not happy about it. Eli's not happy about it, but the greed and the NFL was the forerunner of all of this stuff, and all the other leagues don't. I told you, Adam Silver is a very smart man. He wants on board with this, and hopefully Bettman, sees what the potential is, and it doesn't do us any favors as fans because we pay
The NHL's
extensive.
smart right now. They just keep it with the ESPN Plus, which
Yep.
I think is a smart move because if you get rid of add more everything to streaming, you're not going to see us watching more games than usual. You notice the ESPN Plus levels are not where cable levels are at, unless it's a really good matchup. So smart decision right now to NHL to stay there. Another comment from Tom: Notre Dame coverage is on Peacock too for some games. The future for viewing is going to come down to money.
We've said it time and time again. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's unfortunate for us.
Before we move on, Jim, to MLB, let's go to WNBA real quick. I actually sat down last week and actually watched the Fever game versus Liberty on Saturday, and I thought it was a interesting game. Obviously, Fever won pretty good. Sorry, not Fever. Liberty won pretty good, but it was different. I mean, we didn't see the spark that we saw with Caitlin Clark in the college run. It's still early. She's still trying to adapt to it, but she's been playing good. There's no question. It's tough right now. It's a new rebuilding team and getting used to it. You have a couple games to watch for the WNBA on CBS Sports Network, and NBA TV, and you have 2 games at night, which is not televised. The Fever games on NBA TV if you're interested. So you have a lot of content.
Yeah, and this has given great publicity to the WNBA, and the influx of a Caitlin Clark and all of those Angel Reese. Yeah, I just wonder if it's sustainable down the road, right? Because we've had Candace Parkers and we've had Lisa Leslie, and we've had great players in there, but let's see if this is just kind of a phenomenon or not. But there is a lot of pressure on Caitlin Clark, and she has, instilled interest in the WNBA like we haven't really seen before. So there's going to be money invested in it and so forth. But you're right. She's kind of had a great game the other night, but she's had growing pains, and she's just. I mean, she was playing for Iowa 6 weeks ago, and now she's
now she's here.
WNBA. Right.
New game. Comment again for Frankie. How about the Rangers?
How about those Rangers, Frankie? I know you must have got up late today, but we talked about it. Eli's going to stomp all over them, says they got lucky, but this is, as we've mentioned time and time again, the hardest trophy to win, and Eli can't put aside his hatred for the Rangers because of his love for
No.
the Devils. Anyway,
Go for the Devils.
right. No. Okay.
He said right. Want to clarify? Can we get a replay? He said right.
Yeah. Edit that out.
No. We don't edit stuff here on the show. It's all live. Live only happens once.
Okay. Listen, let's cover Major League Baseball a little bit because we're seeing something going on right now with the Yankees, and always the question that Soto, is this a 1 year and done thing? And I think the opposite. I know the Mets will offer him more money, but he has the fortunate position to have Aaron Judge hit behind him, which means he's going to get more pitches to hit. They're forming a bond, and I think he's going to stay with the Yankees. I think he's getting really, really tight with Judge, and Judge says, stick around here because we got something to build on. Yankees still got some holes, and the pitching. They got a forerunner of the Cy Young early on in the season with Luis Gil, young talent, really starting to make a name for himself. So we're not getting ahead of ourselves. The Phillies right now, as much as I dislike the Phillies, they got the best record in Major League Baseball, and they're a team.
Those Yanks.
But the Yankees look good, and then conversely, the Mets. This is the Met team that they went in the offseason. They didn't really do much, and they're playing like this. And now the question still becomes: is
he also lost the series, Jim, to the Marlins? I want to clarify that. I mean,
yeah, I know, but
exactly...
Alonso is they're the face of that franchise right now. But is that going to be enough to keep
and
pay him Aaron Judge type money? No, he's not Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge got off to a very slow start, and people said, "Oh, he's starting to,
But again, with Aaron Judge, though, this is absolutely normal, though. He's always going to start off with a slow start. He's going to get up the roller coaster, and then it's going to be right back down to the bottom and right back up. It's a roller coaster, and it's in summer too. Coney Island, the roller coasters. It's that same thing in the Bronx. Aaron Rodgers, the New York Yankees and Mets, they all hop on the roller coaster and just go up and down as the season goes on.
Yeah. So like I said, we're almost a third of the way into the Major League Baseball season. So that's looming in the background right now. It's kind of taking a backseat to the NHL and the NBA, but baseball's heating up. The Yanks look good. Some of these other teams, like the Guardians, were playing, and but they're in the weakest division in baseball, obviously, right?
Right.
I mean, I watched the Yankees play the Chicago White Sox. I didn't know anybody on the team. They're an actual terrible Major League Baseball team.
Oh, yeah.
And, but those are the teams that you have to beat up on, and they do. They're getting beat up on. But the Yankees and Soto are really starting to kick it in gear. A long, long way to go. Injuries are, down the line, as we know. It's inevitable. But right now, things are looking pretty good for the Yankees.
Absolutely. I mean, they're off to that start. But again, like I said, all season, they go to Coney Island a lot to ride the roller coaster, to go up and down. And their season. That's their specialty.
Okay, Eli. So covered a lot of good stuff here. So
yeah.
I got some random points, which of course is brought to you by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And by the way, president of Lynch Toyota is Michael, who is a loyal listener, sponsor of the show. Just had a medical procedure. He's going to be fine. Be back in the game in no time. And just wanted to give a shout out to him and a speedy recovery. But it's something that's where if there's an issue, you go to the doctor, you get it checked out, you get it fixed, and you carry on.
And you do it the right way.
Right. And Mike did it exactly the right way. So I wanted to give a shout out to him as well. So couple of notable points, and I know you'll have some too, Eli. I'll just go down a few. We talked about Nelly Korda last week on the LPGA, going for 6 straight. She did not win that tournament, but she won the following tournament. So she's won 6 out of 7 starts, and that's something. Just like the WNBA, when you get a player like that, it draws interest and people want to watch it. And she's a phenom.
You're good. Take your time.
Anyway, so that was one thing I wanted to bring up. Also, here was an interesting thing, and I know you follow this a little bit more closely. You know, how funny was it that Greg Olson wins an Emmy for sports broadcasting? And
that was actually one of my random points.
Yeah, he gets demoted because Tom Brady.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to go to the argument here. Here we go. Let's start with this. ESPN, CBS, they do three-man crew. Tom Brady's only in his rookie year at broadcasting. It's his first game. Why don't they start for this season only, especially that they have the Super Bowl this year? Fox does. Why doesn't it be a three-man team, Greg Olson and Tom Brady, and leave everybody else at the position they are? Why is he being demoted? The fact that he won an Emmy is an embarrassment to Fox Sports. I mean, do you agree? Do you agree with my opinion or not? I mean, and also for everybody else, do you think Fox should have done a three-man team, or should Tom Brady just stay alone with Kevin Burkhardt? And sorry, Greg Olson, even though you won the Emmy, you got to go down because Tom Brady's the
greatest. And I don't necessarily agree with putting Brady, and you don't want to have two color guys in the booth. You want to have a guy like, I guess Burkhardt would be the lead guy now.
He's the player. You know what?
I really enjoyed it. I don't know why people keep criticizing Greg Olson. I thought has done a great job, but they've invested.
He's phenomenal.
$350 million for Tom Brady to sit in the booth.
Like I said,
I don't get it. I think he's going to opt out of this contract at some point.
No question. But my issue is, though, if he's been used to this experience before, he's done this, that's fine. But my concern is it's only his rookie year. So to have a three-man crew, it separates and says to Tom Brady, hey, why don't you think about that for a second? Let me do that. And it gives you a double take from both perspectives, the Tom Brady perspective and the Greg Olson perspective. So that's just my opinion. I think they should have done three-man at least for this year, considering they also have the Super Bowl. So you're going to have to hear Tom Brady's voice, good or not, for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I got to be honest. I'm having Tom Brady overdose. I've had enough of this. I've had enough.
And now that he's the lead guy too.
But you can't get like him and Eli and Peyton Manning. I mean, how much more can we see these guys? It's starting to bother me a little bit. But
listen, Peyton and Eli, they're not on every time. They don't cause the issues such as Tom Brady does. He's on the media every single week, whether it's about Giselle or something else. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Brady is going to be out there in the media a lot compared to everybody else. Peyton and Eli, not really as much. But speaking of sports Emmys, you got a lot that won. Mike Breen won play-by-play, Tracy Wolfson, Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, Noah Eagle, Andreas Cantor, and James Brown. All the top guys that won a sports Emmy. College Game Day won some. Toy Story Fun Day won some college sports Emmys. A lot of good ones took home a sports Emmy. Congrats to them.
But I can't figure out for the life of me how Charles Barkley could win an Emmy. I mean, I can't even tolerate.
Again, this is my point about inside the NBA. The key to inside the NBA is Charles Barkley, Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Shaquille O'Neal. Well, you see, if you watch their pregame show, Jim, for the playoff coverage, it's something else. If you watched the last time they had a clip about Galveston and the New Orleans Pelicans in round 1 of the playoffs, if you got to take a look at that, and if you understand what I'm talking about for those watching, then feel free to comment on about it. He provides that flavor. That Galveston moment from this year was awesome. His guarantees during the pregame, they're awesome. They make you want to sit there and watch the full pregame show and want to watch the NBA. That's just my opinion. So absolutely well deserved. And that is my reason why that is the key to the NBA's success is through inside the NBA and TNT. Without them, failure's coming. And that is my number one reason why I've been stressing about it all throughout these broadcasts.
I know, but I can't even tolerate it. Just like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of pregame shows. Like I can't stand watching Howie Long talk, about football. I can't watch Charles Barkley talk about basketball. I mean,
like I said, inside the NBA is something different. what they provide in the pregame and the postgame is something that if you watch some of the clips, you'll understand why they deserve a sports Emmy, or they deserve to be on the radio or the shows on TNT broadcast a lot longer than usual. There's reasons behind it.
I'm from the school where I can't watch it. I respectfully disagree with you that you find it interesting, but Kenny Smith, it's like a shtick. It's not analyzing the game. It's trying to get their message across rather than covering the sport itself. That's what bothers.
So I guess Tom's agreeing with you. It's all about entertainment, not content.
Well, I'm the opposite, and Tom, my philosophy with Eli and our show is we provide a lot of content. We don't try to make the show about us. We have opinions and we have loyal listeners that.
But you also want to draw in entertainment too. That makes the show more exciting. That's just that's part of the media landscape, and that's what Inside the NBA qualifies for.
And that's we do.
No question.
Right? We do a movie, we do pictures, we do all that kind of stuff. So
I'm just saying in general. Move along.
Enough with that.
Yeah.
Before we get off the NFL, just be aware that there is going to be an 18-game season, whether it's next year or the year after.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, but they're going to have to figure out, because the Players Association is going to not want it, because that's an extra week that these guys can potentially get hurt. But Roger Goodell is going to get his wish, and it's going to be an 18-game season. If not next year,
I love
the year after.
I love it, Jim. I 100% love it. More football. The Super Bowl gets pushed back later. What else could you ask for? Cut the preseason in half. Because what does the preseason accomplish? You have 3 games right now. Do you watch preseason? No, I don't watch it. I know half of these people I know don't watch it. And if they do watch it, it's because it's like the Giants or Jets series or that they're watching for whatever reason. That was last year's game. And that's the one I saw Aaron Rodgers first time play, which was great.
I got you.
So that's my opinion. Comment real quick from Tom. That's why I'm watching you guys. Excellent work. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Tom. And listen, this is not breaking news because it came out a couple of days ago, but we cover all kinds of sports, right? We cover tennis to golf. We got past the cornhole thing, but the world of competitive eating has just seen a massive retirement as Kobayashi, 6-time winner of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, has officially retired. So his body has taken, he can't taste food anymore. He has no appetite. So
no.
But so Joey Chestnut really doesn't have any competition in the next 10 years on Labor Day. So
okay, listen, I would like to clarify. I cannot be eating one hot dog. I can eat one hot dog, maybe 2. I cannot eat 5,500 hot dogs. I can tell you that right now. I mean,
none of us can.
It's fun to watch, though. It's fun to watch. It's just
it's
talk about entertainment at its finest.
Yeah, it's a gluttonous sport for sure. But we don't dismiss people that have 6-time champion is something to take notice. And congratulations to him on his retirement.
That's a hard sport. I can tell you that much. And we have a comment again. Coco is coming, baby.
Yeah, well, that's Coco Gauff, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we know that. We know she's an up and comer. She's gonna be the face of women's tennis. Women's tennis is, like I said, it's wide open. You almost get a different Grand Slam winner each tournament. Each year, and but it's happening on the men's side too, just like on the women's side, right? We're seeing Nadal and Federer are gone, and Djokovic starting to, maybe, I'm not saying completely going downhill, but we're seeing some kinks in the armor now. So tennis is going to be wide open, and you know what? We're going to start to see the new crew of men's stars, with Sinner and all of those guys. So we keep an eye on that too. Absolutely. Eli, you have some random points you want to?
I have tons. We'll start off back at the NFL. Next year's NFL draft, as we will know, will be in Green Bay. 2026 will be in Pittsburgh. The NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell made a comment in regards to Chiefs Harrison Butker and the situation that with the commencement speech and he said, in quote, "Listen, we have over 3,000 players. They have diversity of opinions and thoughts just like America does. I think that's something we treasure. That's part of what ultimately makes us a society better. We're not going to go much beyond the statement we made last week." So rightfully so by the commissioner. Nicely done there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, moving forward on some other notes, Rutgers and Princeton will play at the Prudential Center on December 21st for the Never Forget Tribute Classic. Sources told John Fanta on X.
Excellent.
TNT Sports will present college football. They will get 2 first-round games next year, along with 2 quarterfinal games from 2026 to 2028. This is a five-year deal in partnership with ESPN. Other notes.
Yep.
That are happening. Noah Eagle will be play-by-play voice for the 2024 French Open for NBC Sports. Here are the front office sports best venues for 2024. Citi Field in New York, TD Garden, Boston, Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky, State Farm Arena, Atlanta, Georgia, not stadium home of the Cardinals, the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, Texas, Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Moody Center ATX in Austin, Texas, and Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. Those are your front office sports best venues for 2024. Interesting to know. Other two notes that I have. Is this true or not? Models may be making a return as they posted on their Instagram a new era loading as it appeared all over their Instagram. So remember the Models iconic sports store? They may be making a comeback. So that's pretty exciting if you're a sports store guy.
Well, that's good. That's good for Models where you could pay 3 times what the product is worth because it's a sports team.
Well, I mean, it's a lot cheaper than like Dick's Sporting Goods and most other ones. So that's good to know. Final note, non-sports related. The iconic Home Alone house in Illinois is up for sale for $5.25 million. That's cheap considering the houses that are on the market here in Jersey and most other places. And especially the historical presence of the house. That's pretty cheap value, $5.25 million. Jim, do you have a 2.15 laying around in your house, in your bank account? Because I think I have.
I do not, but you know what? I would consider not buying that house because you have guys robbing the entire neighborhood. So
all righty. We'll have to keep note of that, Jim.
Right.
Thank you.
Careful.
All right.
All right, Eli. Let's move on to our movie recommendation, and I'm bringing this up because I saw it last night. It's
also movie pick and photos sponsored by Vital Selection. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Yep, and you can see the QR code up top, and you get your Vital Selections is marketing
fantastic product.
Yeah, a healthy alternative to some of the other stuff that's out there. So we welcome them as a sponsor of the show, and thank you to Steve Russo for joining our program. So anyway, my movie from last night was The Kane Mutiny, and it's like a great cast. It was Van Johnson and Humphrey Bogart and Fred McMurray. If you haven't seen it, because you're going to see a lot of, rightfully so, a lot of good movies over Memorial Day on Turner Classics, and this is one of my favorite movies. It's from the 50s. So, last week we talked about Aladdin. So Eli and I have an extensive breadth of movie likes.
My movie pick for this week. What am I going to choose? There's a lot to choose from.
Bring it on.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to choose. I'm going to say what's in theaters. I mean, you have a lot coming up. You have the Garfield movie that came out this week. Inside Out 2 is coming out as well. You have a lot of good, more movies happening right now. So go check out your local movie theater for the newest movies. That's my recommendation.
All right. So Eli, we were talking about movies. So bring up the picture that I sent. And for everybody out there, if you haven't seen any Marx Brothers movies, it's great slapstick, funny comedy. They were very, very big. My brother was a gigantic Marx Brothers fan, and there they are, a picture with Lou Gehrig in Yankee Stadium, and I saw it and I thought it was great because Lou Gehrig is one of my favorite baseball players of all time. And you could see, he's in there with the Marx Brothers. And we had Jackie Gleason picture a few weeks ago in a Yankees uniform, batting in Yankee Stadium. But this caught my eye, and I wanted to share it with our listeners.
I mean, nothing's gonna beat the photo you shared last week of Tyreek Hill. I mean, wow.
Right.
Still brings me up. I've been still thinking about that day and night. I mean, what you put. I mean, oofa, like
I know with a St. Joe's
shock the world.
Sure. So Eli, we move on to our notable passings this weekend. There were a couple of them, and I'm going to bring up, Mark Wells, who was a member of the 1980 Miracle on Ice gold medal winning hockey team for the U.S. And, it's kind of a sad story. I mean, he overcame some illnesses and so forth, but a sad story related to him. And he was only 66 years old. I mean, that's how old most of those players on that team was, for crying out loud. It was 44 years ago. But he was in such financial distress that he had to sell his gold medal for $40,000. And then the guy that bought it sold it for $350,000. So, I mean, you can't anticipate the stress that people go through. But you know what? I have an autographed picture that Michael Burns, one of my friends, sent me. He's very close to Mark Wells' his dad, or he was. So I absolutely wanted to mention him because he was part of one of the most epic events in certainly in Olympic history and certainly in U.S. history. So
absolutely,
rest in peace. And here's a very, very notable one. And I know my friend Tom Pugh, who's listening to the show, knows who Jim Otto was. And he was 86 years old. And Jim Otto, first and foremost, is one of 3 players to play in all AFL, every game in the AFL season when the league started in 1960.
Right.
And then he went to, after the merger in 69, he played for the Raiders and never missed a game. So when you're talking about, an Iron Man, a guy that was, he was very notable because he wore 00. He's a Hall of Famer, but along with that, he went through, you want to talk about post-football, medical issues. There was a documentary years ago that he could barely get out of bed, and ultimately had one of his legs amputated. So, that's the price you pay for not missing a game. But he was legendary. And when you think of an NFL center, and you could talk about Jason Kelsey, whatever, he will never, ever be a Jim Otto, period.
Absolutely. So there is no question.
Yeah. Just some notables, you know what? I'm not even going to mention this guy because he was corrupt, and it was the whole Wall Street era and insider trading. I'm not even going to mention his name.
The one note I have.
I got one more, Eli.
Okay.
And one more. I just want to bring up because Harry Dickerson passed away at 84. And a lot of people obviously don't know him, but he was very, very close. He was my sister's father-in-law, and he's from Kentucky, and he was always a gentleman. I had met him once, and, he was just a very, very nice guy. And, I know my sister's very saddened by that passing, but I wanted to mention Harry Dickerson. And, good guy. Good guy.
One last one I had was director Morgan Spurlock, who died at the age of 53. He was a filmmaker and director.
Yeah, he was known for that documentary or movie called Supersize Me.
Yes, right? That was it.
And he ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 straight days, right?
Yeah, I wonder why. I mean,
yeah. Well, no, he did die of cancer, so not of a McDonald's diet. But anyway, so again, thank you all for joining us, Tom Pugh.
We have a program alert for next week. The time for next week's show is to be announced on Thursday-ish. As I cover obviously the St. Mary Gills baseball. They're in the playoff run. Their first playoff game is Tuesday. If they win, they play Thursday. Win Thursday, they play Saturday. If they lose, obviously, it will be a normal 10 o'clock show. But if they do make it to Saturday, we may have an earlier show. So we will keep everybody informed. So check out YouTube, the X account, sportsmonomano at gmail.com. Sorry, not gmail.com, sportsmonomano X account, my Instagram, or Jim's Facebook for the latest updates. We will keep you posted in regards to what time for Saturday's show. So we don't know the time, so keep posted.
Yep. And again, thank you to Tom coming back and making some comments on the show. Like I said, it's all about our loyal listeners, and
absolutely,
you know, we're building quite a following, and we look to expand. And you know, if we got to do it one viewer at a time, that's
so
how
let it
we'll
be.
do it. You know?
Absolutely, Jim.
But again, everybody, it's Memorial Day. Remember what it's all about, and thank a serviceman or whatever for their sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And just keep in mind why we have Monday
this holiday.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right, Eli. Well,
have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. Say thank you to any veteran or anybody serving in our armed forces. Have a good one.
You bet. You bet. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks.